we're about to embark on a very exciting time. It's hackathon time again, and of course, this year is very, very unique in that we're going to be doing this completely virtual. Before I get started and get into the slides at all, I do want to say to everyone, thank you so much for being willing to do this. I know it's a little bit different in that we're not going to be in the room with the hackathon participants and with you, but we've worked really hard as an organizing team to make this as successful as possible. But the fact is, if you all weren't here, we couldn't do that. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your concern and for your willingness to do this. Just to, of course, acknowledge what's on the slide. If you have not joined the Slack channel, please take a moment and check your email. There's an easier way to do it. There is a link that I sent to all of you all in the meeting invite that if you click on it, it should go ahead and sign you in and allow you to the various rooms. And of course, we're going to add more as we need them. All right, pushing forward. So, since you don't get to see us in person, I wanted you to get at least an idea of what we look like. We have in alphabetical order, hailing from the European continent, and you'll be hearing from him soon, actually from Greece today, which is so unfair. We have Alex Nolte from the University of Tartu. We have Amy Cannon, who is actually one of our vendor sponsors and has been with us with the hackathons from the very beginning from Omnibon. Thank you, Amy. Boyd Wilson, he's actually not able to join the call because he has a conflict, but he, again, a longtime supporter since the very beginning from Omnibon. He's actually also one of our merry band of mentors. Myself, Jamie Powell from the Texas Advanced Computing Center. I'm actually a systems administrator there and a part of our education and outreach team and a researcher. And of course, Dr. Linda Hayden, who was one of the driving forces and one of the initial forces to make this happen. And of course, not only is she my mentor from the time I was in high school, but also I kind of consider her as a second mom. So Dr. Linda Hayden from Elizabeth City State University. But for you all, I want to you all to know each other a little bit because we're going to be relying on each other during this this virtual hackathon. Based on your information that you've included in the form, the mentor sign-up form, this is what we have for you all. So Boyd Wilson from Omnibon, he's actually going to be working on gateway of choice, so any gateway, and use the Cloudy Cluster package from Omnibon along with Google Compute Cloud, although it could use anything, and or the Jupyter Lab interface to transform those science gateways into being able to utilize those computational resources, cloud-based computational resources. It's a really cool product. I added to the GitHub site. He actually created some videos for some new updates that, well, if you get a moment, take a look at it. You'll see it, especially those of you that have worked with us before, it is getting slicker and slicker and slicker. We also have Sudhakar from IU, who has worked with us before. And Sudhakar, would you like to say hello?
Hi. I don't want to say too much here, but I have been in hackathons sponsored by SDCI. I'm hoping to bring some capstone students to this workshop, hackathon. Hope we'll have fun.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And as you see, he'll be working on creating some workflows and Django plugins for post-processing data. And then the inexorable, actually one of my good friends and coworkers from TAC, Mr. Junyi Shaw. Would you like to say hello, Junyi?
Hi, everybody. I'm a software developer at Tech, and recently we've been getting into deploying Plotly Dash and using it for displaying data for COVID-19. So I thought it'd be interesting for students to get their hands on the same, or at least the same basic technology, and understand the idea behind a data pipeline going all the way to a public-facing visualization.
Excellent. Thanks, Junyi. And then we come to myself, Jamie Powell. So I'm from TAC, and I was very fortunate to be an awardee of the Cloudy Cluster or the Cloudy grant. And I actually proposed a project called OddSAC, wherein I'm attempting to recreate a basically on the fly science gateway. So just the bare bones basics for people that have maybe an introductory idea they want to work on. And so I want to use some of my Google credits and hopefully gather a few students and see if we can get some of those basic ideas up and rolling. Then we have one of my other good friends and a co-instructor at TAC that I work with him, Mr. Charlie Day. You want to say hello, Charlie?
Hey everyone, so my name is Charlie Day. I'm the Director of Professional Development and Training here at TAC. Something that we've always been trying to do, and I don't think we ever had a really good solution for, is an automated data curator interface for Jupyter notebooks. So, and then a way of creating a generic way of plotting data on Jupyter notebooks as well. So our engineering scientists are going to be putting these notebooks together and managing data. Don't have to know too much about working with pandas and matplotlib if we can create an automated interface. So that's the plan on our side.
Excellent. Thanks, Charlie. And up next, another one of my coworkers that has helped in a few of our past hackathons, and in one particular hackathon, she kind of saved my life, and I really appreciate it. And she was so kind to be willing to help. Miss Brandy Kurtz from TAC. Would you like to say hello?
Yeah, I'll get my face in here. So yeah, I do work at TAC as well. I'm a software developer there. I do mostly APIs. Though I've dabbled on some other stuff, such as some of this that Junie mentioned. I do work on that with him. Yeah, I'm just kind of looking forward to it.
Excellent. Thank you, Brandy. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Christopher Lenkos from Mississippi Valley State. He joined us last hackathon for the first time and knocked it out of the park. And so, Chris, would you like to say hello?
Hello, everyone. It's good to see some of you guys again. I recognize some of you guys, and hope we just have a good time, and hope I can support any way I can.
Excellent. Thanks, Chris. So moving on. The question that everyone is asking for Perk with this year, of course, with the pandemic going on, and everything for the conferences switching over to a virtual format, there have been interesting questions that come along with that. The big question I want to answer for everyone, for those of you that don't know, Perk this year will be run through a system called Briella. Briella is an interesting project and an interesting company, but as for us, the way it's going to work is, number one, all of us actually do have to be registered for Perk. For any of you that are not registered, you're going to be receiving an email after this session so that I can get you registered, and we'll actually cover your fee for you. So we'll take care of that for you. But the way this will work is each one of our sessions will have a Zoom link attached to it. So once you're registered for Perk, you can sign into Briella. Within Briella, you can select Hackathon as one of the tags, and you'll see a list that looks similar to what you have on the screen. In each one of those sessions, there'll be a Zoom link. And so you'll click on that, it'll drop you into that particular session, and we'll be good to go. Having said that, as mentors, you may want to, and well, likely will have other meetings with your mentees. We have, of course, Zoom accounts available that we can create sessions for you so that you can meet with your students, or if you have your own, of course, you can use those, or if there are any other software packages for teleconferencing or communication that you want to use with your teams, you can use those as well. But as far as in the primary check-ins and kickoff meetings and presentations, we're going to use the the Zoom links provided by Perk, and those links are going to be found on Briella. And just let you know, because we do have people all around the time zones, the Briella will show you the times in your time zone. And that address there is briella.io. Fun part. Now, I'll put my name on this slide, but I'm going to drag Alex in here on this one as well. For those of you that have participated in my hackathons before, which I think all of you all have, when I think about it, that's actually really neat. You all are used to our students and our teams having some deliverables that they must have at the end. They're going to have a final presentation that they give, but also we want to make sure that they're building their own portfolios. So there's a solid place where their results and things can be found, and of course searched for future hackathons. So having said that, the deliverables are pretty much common to previous hackathons. First, they need to provide their source code. And the way that we want them to provide their source code is by saving them on a GitHub repository that they created. Second, they need to have a PDF version of their slides from their presentation, from their final presentation. In that presentation, we do require that the team members' names along with pictures are included. Usually we don't say the pictures because we'll go around and take a team photo of everyone, but of course that's not quite possible. We can't hop on a plane and fly around and take a picture of everybody. But what we do want is for everyone to take an individual picture of themselves and include it in the presentation. Finally, within the readme.md for the project description, we want to make sure you have some information there about the presentation. So in other words, we don't want anyone to go to the GitHub site, land, and there's nothing there but a bunch of files. Many of us, of course, working in software and things like that, we've done that. So we just want them to put a little bit of effort into their readme, readme.md or markup file. Now, the scored areas for judging criteria. Yes, there will be prizes. And here's the surprise. So you all are going to be the first people outside of the organizing committee to know this. We will be delivering prizes to the students virtually. And by virtually, I mean through Venmo. So we are going to have cash prizes. We may have some gift cards as well. And also the students that signed up prior to this week, they've actually received, or they're going to receive boxes with conference materials. And I'm going to double check our supply. Actually, Dr. Hayton is online here. Doc, are we okay to say we're going to be able to send the headphones to the mentors as well?
Absolutely. So
excellent.
All I need is Jeff is going to, in fact, some of them should have received.
I did. I received voice boxes.
What'd you say, Amy?
I received mine in Boyd's boxes yesterday.
Okay, good. Okay, so the answer to your question is yes.
Excellent. So when I send you all I'll just ask, if you have a moment, please reply to and you can reply just to me from the meeting invite with your address, with your physical address, so we can get those packages in the mail to you. All right. Hopefully, if we can get them fast enough, we may even be able to get them to you before Monday, which will be kind of cool. And you want those packages. Yes, sir.
So these requirements in terms of deliverables and how they will be stored is all sent to the students as well?
Yes, we're going to include these deliverables. Of course, we're going to have a students meeting on Thursday, but these deliverables and as well as the judging criteria will also be added to the GitHub site. I always like to share them with the with the mentors first, to make sure that there aren't any concerns or anything before I make them public to the participants, because I don't want them to focus in and then miss something. But yes, sir, it will be available to them.
Okay, great. So the other thing is I was trying to add this Slack channel
Yes,
It
sir.
looks like I cannot log in.
Not a problem. We will take care of that here as soon as we get to the question and answer service section, as well as for everyone else. Yes, sir. And sorry about the confusion there.
Okay. We'll come back to that later.
Not a problem at all. And Alex, I'm gonna drag you in. Now, I want you all to know Alex is running on empty. It's about what, 8 o'clock in Greece on the ocean. Alex.
It is 6 o'clock. and it is the Mediterranean Sea, so not quite technically the ocean, but yeah, getting the gist. And I'm apologizing in advance because I'm sort of on mobile internet here. So if my connection breaks down, please bombard me in the chat with messages because I'm not quite sure if it works out that well. So yeah, the scoring criteria. First of all, Jamie, I'm sorry, but the first one's wrong. It's supposed to be viability and not visibility.
But you don't want to see it? No, we'll take
Yes,
it.
I want to see it. I want to see it, which is why there is a third point that has UX and polish in it, you know?
Not a problem at all.
Okay, I mean, I think the whole thing should be pretty self-explanatory. And since everyone has been here before, you also know that we don't take this stuff like 100% literally. This is more sort of a guideline for us to look at different things that we want to, we want to take care of when we judge the teams. So the first one is, does it have a chance to get continued, right? That is basically the viability and usefulness part. So like, is it like useful for what it was supposed to be? Then the second one is, how creative was it? How nice does it look, right? So like the UX and polish part. How technically complex is it? Then what is it? The fifth one is a little bit difficult. So on that, we're going to rely a lot on the mentors. That is, how did they collaborate with each other, right? So that's basically, we're going to ask you, like, was this a one-person thing where everyone was just sitting around and let this one poor guy or girl work through the whole thing, or did they actually work together? Then the presentation we're all going to be able to see, so no problem. And the challenge completed, I'm not entirely sure where that is coming from, but Jamie knows.
For the presentation, our main thing is we want to make sure that the team works together during the presentation. Generally speaking, we look for a cohesiveness to the presentation, and that whatever questions they ask, they answer, so that it makes sense. And in general, that they have a presentation. that is, if you've worked with other hackathons, I'm sure that is a common thing. So that's why we have those 10 points there. All right.
All right. Yeah. So that's basically that.
All right. And moving to the next slide here. And Alex.
Yes. So, let me get a bit of sort of background / history into this. We started out with this whole thing as the idea of getting people engaged in science gateways, and we did a couple of hackathons. And when I say we, meaning the sort of core team, Jamie, Linda, Amy, and those people. And behind that was sort of a group of researchers from mainly CMU, so a couple of my colleagues. And we were doing some research around, like, how can we improve the sort of mentoring process around it? So all this stuff that you read on this slide sort of comes out of us observing what was going on and trying to figure out how we can make things better. That being said, these things, of course, stem from a time when we were sitting together in the same room, right? That doesn't mean that this stuff isn't valid anymore. But it means that some of the things might be more difficult to achieve now than they would be if you would be sitting next to each other, right? So that being as background, the most important thing is let the students do what they want to do, right? So this is first and foremost a learning opportunity for them, right? We have seen a couple of cases, not necessarily in this environment, but also in other cases where the mentors came in with sort of rigid project ideas. They said, hey, we want you to do this. And then the students tried to do it and they couldn't do it because, I don't know, they were not that interested in this. They didn't have the technical skills, whatever it might be, right? So first and foremost, this is supposed to be a learning opportunity for students. So your job is basically to give them a sort of problem area / a good idea of what they could work on, and then let them decide what they want to work on by themselves. And then the second thing, and that is really important, is they will be sort of jumping between producing something that is extremely simple and the perennial I want to save the world thing, right? So it is very important for you to scope it, to help them scope it down, because they will not have the experience of how difficult certain things are to achieve. So it is basically your job to kind of hold them in and say, hey, this might be too complex for now, and just sort of let them go with a small idea and then expand it. Because expanding it is always easy, right? You can always add some new stuff and some bells and whistles, but it might be hard to achieve a bigger project to start with, right? And yeah, the other thing is, I don't know how much that is true for this time. That is that typically we have students participating in events that run at the conference itself. So they might want, I mean, some of them will participate in the student program. They might want to see some sessions. So be a little bit mindful of their time. The best and easiest way to do this is just to talk with them and say, hey, where would you go? Like, what times do you have? When can we meet? Stuff like that. And also try to figure out what the students can actually do. And with that, I mean what every student can do, because this shouldn't be one person is an extremely good developer and then can sort of work everything and the other people don't have anything to do thing, right? So the whole thing should be a collaborative effort. So it should be in a way that everyone is sort of a little bit involved. And I know it's very easy to just, when the students are struggling and you know the solution, to just give the solution away and say, hey, just do this, it's gonna fix, right? Try to hold a little bit back on that and try to work the solution. You can give them hints, that's fine. And if they get stuck too much, then please help them in that way. They shouldn't get stuck for a couple of hours on the same thing that you can solve within 5 minutes, but let them try, right? Let them work on it a little bit. And the last thing here is really the most important thing, that is the students should be able to reach you. So we provide a Slack channel anyway, and we would suggest that you create a Slack channel for your project / your team so that the students can reach you there. But I would also suggest to, I don't know, share your email address, or if you feel comfortable, some phone number or whatever, like whatever means of communication you prefer that the students can reach you quickly. Because when you were in the same room, that's pretty easy. They just turn around and talk to you. That is a little bit more difficult in the situation that we are in now. So try to be, try to be in contact with them. Yeah, if you want to use Discord, sure, do that. I totally don't mind. We just set up Slack sort of as a general means of communication for everyone, where we also are. But if you agree with your student team on something else, I mean, we're totally fine with that. Just make sure that you can reach them and they can reach you.
All right. Thanks, Alex. So, mentors needs for Monday, the 27th. There is one thing I'd like to ask for you all. Those of you all that do have projects, if you could take 5 minutes, we're not looking for anything complex, not even something super thought out, but just a general slide, one slide that kind of explains, has information for you, and then information regarding either your skills or a project that you'd like to tackle. Just one slide if possible. Second, we do need to make sure that everyone's registered. If you wouldn't mind, if you are not registered, please send me an email at the end of this session, or either right now so you don't forget, or either a message on the Slack channel if you're a part of that, to let us know that you are not registered so that I can send you an email and get you registered. That's super important. So in other words, after the session, you should be sending me an email either way. Number one, with your address so we can send you the swag. And number two, if you are currently registered for Perk already. When I send you the email, there are tutorials that you can sign up for. This year is one flat cost, which is pretty cool. We are, a part of that email is going to include whether you want to sign up for some tutorials. Think about your rough availability, the times that you will be available for your team. Most of the students that I've seen sign up so far are on the East Coast, so keep that in mind. But keep your availability known. We're working from our homes. It's a little bit more difficult than sitting inside of a room like we usually do, so we kind of need to plan that out. And the most important thing, this is a repeating theme, make sure your team has a method of communication. You need to make sure that they are able, on day one, you need to make sure that they are able to both communicate together as well as with you. Of course, as Alex said, and I said as well, we have our Slack channels. That's wonderful. If they don't want to use that, that's fine, but make sure they have a way of communicating with you and with one another. It's extremely important. I've participated in a hackathon where that didn't happen, and I ended up doing an entire project by myself. Granted, I got second place in the solar oven, which was pretty cool, but still the fact was that is not how that was supposed to work. And Sudhakar, you had a question?
So the team, you said, on day one, you have to have this communication channel ready. So are the teams decided before we get to day one somehow, or how is that happening? Are you coming to that in the further?
So we're going to attempt to see if we can have at least some teams created on Thursday during the all participants meeting, but some students will not have a team. So we'll work through that as it comes forward. I'll, of course, during the Thursday meeting, if you're able to join, I will give you, just like today, a few moments to say what your idea is, to give the teams an idea. My thought process right now is to have a poll to give the students the ability to vote.
So we can prepare the one slide for Thursday, or are we not planning for that?
So I didn't want to push you too hard. If you have your one slide ready for Thursday, wonderful. I'll be glad to use it. But I also understand there are huge demands on all of our time. So I really need it on Monday. But Thursday would definitely be helpful if you want to go ahead and get your team settled so you know what you're working with on Monday.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I also want to make sure that you all know your resources. We do have Google Compute platform credits. They're being provided by Google, but they are given to Omnibon. So Boyd Wilson and Amy will be able to, and Josh as well, will be able to give those out as needed. As well as you'll have access to Clouded Cluster. I do highly suggest the videos are very quick. They're about 5 minutes a piece that you may want to take a look at to see if that's something you want to use. Questions and concerns. So just another list of resources here, just in case. The HackHPC.org site is the main site for everything. Josh, that's online here, was so kind to give his time. He was he was voluntold to assist us, but he has been an amazing resource putting together that site. And then we also have the GitHub site that I'll be able to modify as needed. One of the big issues with the virtual hackathon, I think Alex can agree with me on this, is if you do not have a centralized location that no matter where you are, you can take a look at to see what's going on, you'll lose people. And so that's why we have that GitHub site, and we have it in such a way that we can change it in an instant, and that site's going to be dynamic as we need to add and subtract from it throughout the hackathon. And of course, the conference sites, and remember that the Zoom links for the sessions during Perk, our main check-in sessions, will be listed in Briella.